Engine 1 from car 1. Car 1's on scene at Subin Command. Give me a C.A.N report.
Hey everybody, this is Mike Goldstein, Stickers of the C.A.N report. Nozzle Tov, everybody. I'm representing New Hampshire. I got my guest representing Massachusetts, Joe Lasko. Joe, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Good to see you, my friend. I met Joe Lasko up in Maine in March at the Northeastern Fire Summit, and we became quick friends, and I got him on the show today. A little housekeeping items. If you guys have not, please click on subscribe and like on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify. It helps to know that I'm doing well, that you're liking it, and you want me to keep going. So please do that. I really do appreciate that. So we'll get into it. Joe Lasko, he's from Massachusetts. Also, I want to apologize real quick for both of us. It is now full-blown spring, almost summer in New Hampshire and New England. So that means it stopped raining for the 2 weeks. And so everything's in bloom. And I am sniffing and I am coughing. And so is Joe. So please bear with us as you hear us sniffling throughout this whole podcast. So I'm going to get into Joe's bio real quick. Joe lives in Massachusetts. He works for Whitman Fire Department as a firefighter paramedic. He's also on the Plymouth County Tech Rescue Team. He has associates in fire science. And he also has a girlfriend, but no kids. And that's pretty much Joe Lasko's bio. Short and sweet. I love it. Joe, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I'm happy to be on. I didn't think I'd be on a podcast, but
here we are
at the Fools event, and here we are. We're talking.
Yeah, man, I love it. Yeah, you had so much energy. You and your friend there, Pat, from Massachusetts, and yeah, it was cool to meet you guys. You guys were like just amped up to be there. It was a good weekend for sure at the Northeastern Fire Summit that was put on by the New England Fools. That is why I'm representing, because that's where we met, right? So I have to represent. So, Joe, did I miss anything in your background? That what you gave me was very short and to the point. Is there anything else you wanted to give there?
No, that was perfect, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate you having me on. That was a good, kind of a short and sweet bio, but it got to the point, so that's all that matters.
Cool, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, so I growing up in Massachusetts definitely was. It's good. It's good and bad at the same time. I always kind of think, do I want to move up to New Hampshire? Do I want to move up to Maine? Like as I was younger, and then, here I am, I got a full-time job in Mass, which it's great. I can't complain.
Yeah.
But it's nice to take those trips up north every once in a while,
Absolutely. Yeah. I do the same thing. Like I love to get down to Massachusetts. And both states are fantastic, really. We have the best of both worlds. We got the ocean, we got lakes, we got it all.
Absolutely.
So, Joe, so we met at the Northeastern Fire Summit. We'll touch on that real quick. What did you get out of the Northeastern Fire Summit? What were you looking to get out of it?
So this was my second year doing it. The Fools themselves, the New England Fools, any type of, Fools event is always great. I'm a big advocate of people getting more involved with it. Everyone's like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go up. I don't want to drive up north. I don't want to drive out west, But it's just one of those things where I wouldn't have met you if, I didn't do an event like that. But, that Maine event is always awesome. There's always great speakers. I've never went there and seen a bad speaker. They're always awesome, no matter what it is. But I kind of just do it just because I want to meet new people, but I also just want to learn new aspects of the job. I feel like every department is so different. So just, kind of seeing different states, different departments, smaller departments, bigger departments, being able to bring stuff back to my department kind of thing, is awesome. And I feel like it's a perfect opportunity to go do that. I'll continue to keep going to that stuff, because it's one of those things where I just, I learn the different aspects of the job. And I feel like the only way you can do that is to get out there and do it. Anybody can be a recliner rat and sit around and just kind of hang around and, try to be the best, but you got to get out there. You got to meet new people.
Yeah. You got to get out of your area code for sure. You got to,
absolutely.
It's networking, it's education from outside people that you never really wouldn't be able to see or hear from.
Oh, absolutely.
I enjoy that as well. I have that same passion of wanting to get out and learn from other people, meeting new people. that was my first time going to Northeastern Fire Summit, and the presenters there were fantastic.
Awesome.
It's cool because it's a small but important venue, and it's
Very.
the way that the way that Rusty does it, everybody is all inclusive, right? There is no
Yep.
special green room, there is no
No.
special that the presenters don't get to actually mingle with the common folk, right? Like we're all
Yeah.
together and having meals together, and as soon as the presenters are done, they're just literally sitting down next to us watching the
Hanging
next
out.
one. Yeah,
Yep.
just hanging out. And I did thoroughly enjoy how close knit it was. It really felt like that brotherhood and
Yeah.
sisterhood that
Absolutely.
sometimes you miss in the bigger venues. So I do like what they bring to that.
Yep.
My favorite always though is Clyde Gordon. I always love listening to
Great guy.
his lecture. He really brings it down home, especially again, different roots, Texas, New Hampshire, or Maine, I
Yep.
should say. But he brought a lot to the table, and he always does.
Absolutely
He knocks it out of the park.
Yep.
Another one for me was Maddie Johnson from Florida. I think that was a big eye-opening thing. What'd you get out of Maddie?
Oh, Maddie's an awesome guy. And just meeting him, like you said, after and just talking to him, he's just such a down to earth guy. Just one of those guys that you meet and you like, he would do anything to help you. You know what I mean? But his story was so eye opening. Especially like just coming from, just the past that I kind of had and just listening to him. Really opened up my eyes even more. He was just one of those speakers that like once he started talking, you were locked in.
Yeah.
You didn't want to take a break. You didn't want to go to the bathroom. You didn't want to do any of that stuff. You just wanted to listen to the dude talk.
Yeah.
And he taught me just some really important things of just the aspect of the job and just coming from Florida and Mass, like you said, it's different states, different people. It's just kind of a different aspect, but at the end of the day, we kind of like we're relatable. Talking to him, and he's a great dude. And that's the type of stuff like you said, it's a smaller event, and that's the type of people you meet.
Yeah.
Like you said, the bigger events they're awesome, and you learn a lot. But it's like being able to talk to that person after. I feel like that's where you learn the most about the person.
Yeah, you don't have to stand in line really to and have a number in your hand and wait
No.
to hopefully get a photo op. And again, the bigger venues, I don't blame them. I'm not faulting them. It's huge. They have a lot of people that that's why they have those big events. But
Yep.
it's nice to be able to have a smaller venue that we can have that intimate atmosphere and
absolutely.
be able to actually have a good conversation. And honestly, it was really cool. Where I got a lot about it too was the table I was at. Like there was a gentleman there. Forgot what community he's from, but he was asking me great questions just about how he can make his job better and what he like the trainings I go to. He was asking me what I learned from, so he could bring it to his department.
Yeah.
So people were just learning from everybody around those tables, and not just even the presenters, but it's literally just your brothers and sisters at the tables. Hey, what do you do for this department? What do you do for that department? How do you train for this? How do you train for that? So we all got something out of that weekend with the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the networking, and then the presenters that really gave some top-notch education to all of us.
Absolutely.
So, Joe, tell us how you got into the fire service. What is a bit about your background? Because you're not a generational firefighter.
No, no one in my family was firefighter.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I married into it per se. My father-in-law and his father were both firefighters, so I got kind of married into it. So I'm kind of like you, though. I came in not knowing what the world was. I heard about it, but I never did. So how did you get into the fire service?
Yeah. So just another point on that too is for anybody out there listening, you can still be a firefighter if your father, your mother, your uncle. You can still get into the fire service, like me and you, we had no one in the background, you can always pursue that dream that you want to do, even if your family's not part of the job, but yeah, so I grew up in a small South Shore town, South Shore, Massachusetts, ocean community, town called Marshfield, great town. It was awesome growing up there. The only downside was it was considered a richer town. So everyone say, oh man, like you're a Marshfield kid, you're a rich kid. I'm like, my parents were like the most blue collar people you could meet. My dad was a lineman for Verizon. He climbed phone poles, and my mom worked in the offices for Verizon. You know, they were hardworking people. My dad would work overnights. He would call it the graveyard shift. My mom would work 4 to midnights, just, you know, busting their ass just to kind of support my family. Um, so yeah, it was great growing up in a smaller, you know, beach community. As I got older, went through high school in that town, learned a lot. I kind of always growing up, not kind of, I did. Growing up, I wanted to be a firefighter. That was the thing. Like I would, and it sounds cliche because I feel like every firefighter says this, but like I would beg my parents to take me by the firehouse when I was a kid. I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
we have to drive by the station. Like I just have to see the trucks hanging out up there. You know what I mean? And, you know, I would chase fire trucks down the street when I was in my diapers. My parents wouldn't have any idea where I was, you know. And next thing you know, the engine's down the street and I'm sitting next to it, you know. So I always wanted to be a firefighter. You know, it was kind of up and down getting there. I graduated high school and, you know, it was kind of a big, you know, big thing in life. Graduating high school is like everyone's so scared of it, but I was like, oh, I'm ready to move on and get on with my life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Great high school, but I just wanted to like move on to succeed in my career, whatever that was going to be at that time. um, so I actually, right when I graduated, I went and got my associates in fire science, just because I thought that would be like the best thing, you know, to kind of step into it. You know, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? And I got my associates through a small community college, which was the best thing I ever
Mm-hmm.
did. Not knocking, you know, big schools, but it was perfect for my career. And that was it was a degree where everyone in the class was already a firefighter. I think I was one of the only guys or girl that wasn't a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I learned a lot getting my associates in fire science. It was a 2 year program. So I did that right when I got out of high school, and I fell in love with it. You know, it's funny, like you can listen to an English lecture or anything like that, but once you get like into like the meat and potatoes of the firefighting, like building construction and fire investigation, I was just like locked. I was so involved in it. Um, so I did that, and then I ended up that college ended up having an EMT program. You know, because growing up around where I was in a smaller community, everyone said you're not going to be a firefighter unless you're a medic or an EMT. There's no way, no how. There is ways around it now. So that's another thing. If you're listening, don't think that you have to be a paramedic to get on a fire service. You know what I mean, or an EMT. There is ways around it. But I went to EMT school. I also fell in love with that. You know, did that while going through school, getting my associate's degree. During that time, I was learning so much, but my dad he was really sick, so that made it 10 times harder. Everyone knows like going to EMT school and working a job, and it's not easy. You know,
Yeah.
it's definitely not easy. You're going to night school, you're doing whatever you got to do, but like you know, when a family member is sick and you're trying to get through it, and my dad was my best friend, so it's one of those things that just made it 10 times harder. I come from a you know a great family. My mom and dad were very supportive. My sister, you know, they were nothing but supportive for me. So going through that, my dad was he was starting to get really sick. He got diagnosed with liver cancer. My dad, it's funny. My dad was always, I feel like all us guys are so stubborn. Like he would go to the doctors and you would know he would talk to his doctor about certain things, but he would come back home and you'd say, Dad, what was going on? And he would be like, oh, nothing. Everything went great. Everything looks good. And it's just like, you know, in the back of your head, you're just like, damn, like,
Yeah.
are you really telling the truth or what? Um, so yeah, so my dad got really sick during that time, and it kind of was like, oh man, like I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't know if I want to go through with this, you know. Because when your parent is sick or any loved one, it's like you think it's the end of the world. You're like, oh
Yeah.
man, like I just got to stop life and just like help them out. So when he was getting really sick, he ended up going to a local hospital. You know, long story short, he had a seizure and it was getting bad, and he ended up getting flown to Boston from a smaller community hospital. We have multiple, you know, medical helicopters, but it so happened to be Boston Med Flight flew him from a smaller community hospital up to Boston. Um, and he was up in Boston for a decent amount of time, I'd say weeks. And that was what really opened my eyes to like, was like, all right, lock in, Joe. Like, this is what you want to do. don't let, this, wreck your life. And my dad was always one of those guys, like, you just keep going, man. Like, just do it. This is what you want to do. You got to do it. Don't let me stop you. And like my mom and my sister, they were all very supportive. Um, and it was just kind of going to the hospital every day and watching what the doctors, everyone was, the nurses and, the paramedics were doing. They were bringing in new medications. And like I said, I was at the beginning of MT school. I didn't really know much about anything yet, not coming from a medical background or anything. Um, so just watching that, I would Google everything. I'd be like, what's sinus rhythm or what's tachycardia? Like, you know what I mean? Or what's different medications that they were bringing in? What's propofol and everything along those lines. And it just kind of, I fell in love with it. And I was like, as much as I wanted, like, I wanted to just help my dad. And I was just thinking in my head, because there was times where he was out of it. I mean, he was intubated. It was, it was a tough thing to see. And, so it was just one of those things where I learned so much from it. It sucked. I mean, it blew, he was sicker than sick. But I just knew what he wanted was to follow my dream and do it. So I'd say he was up in the hospital for 2 weeks before he started to get really, really bad. And I'll never forget it, because I was taking my finals for fire science, which was finals week during all this. So that was even worse. And I just remember telling my sister, I said, Kayla, don't call me unless it's urgent. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be in finals. I'm going to be taking this test. Don't call unless it's something major. So I was taking a test and my phone's vibrating. I'm like, oh man, what the heck's going on? I'm halfway through this test. I'm like, what the hell? So
did you tell your teachers at all? Did you tell your?
I didn't, because I didn't know. I didn't know that this was going to be the last couple of days for my father. And they would. That leads me to say that, when I answered that phone call and my sister said, Dad has like 2 more days to live. You got to get up to the hospital. I was so scared to go up to my teachers, and they were all firefighters. I just didn't want to be that kid that was like, oh, I'm trying to get out of class. Cause you don't know, what I mean? Yeah. Looking back, and that's a great point. I should have said something, that goes for anything. Like, you should say, hey, I might be having to take a phone call at some point. Just disregard, you know what I mean? Just let me step out if I needed to. But going to tell my teachers that, and like, my lip was like quivering, and I'm just like, my dad's sick. I can't. And they were like, it just shows you like how supportive the fire service is. They were like, oh, like, family comes first, man. Like, don't worry about it. Like, get up there, go see your family. You can take finals, months from now. We don't care. You can come in. And that I was like, oh my God, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I was so, obviously my dad, is passing away, but that was just so scary for me to tell those teachers. I'm like, I have to leave. Like, I can't finish these finals. So I ended up driving up to Boston, and unfortunately, I was able to, get to my father's bedside, and all his friends were coming in, and he had such a big community. Like, he was just one of those guys that everyone was like, oh, like, your dad was awesome. Your dad's awesome. And it's awesome when people come up to me and they say, hey, you're just like your father. Like, that's just like, that hits different for me. And I'm just like, oh man, that's just like a great thing to hear. But yeah, I got up there, and unfortunately those 2 days passed, and he did pass away, and I was right by his side. But at the end of the day, like, something came over me, like, when he got really sick. And I just say it to this day. Like, I don't know if he put something in me or put something in the water, but that just opened up my eyes, like, to really, I was like, I'm locking in. I'm going to go be, after EMT school, I'm going to go become a paramedic. I'm going to go become a firefighter. This is what he want. This is what he would want. This is what my family wants. This is, at the end of the day, this is what I want.
Yeah.
But when you're a young kid, it was 2 months before my 21st birthday. So I'm like, I'm still young. You're still young. You're 20. You're like, what do I do? Like, you're starting your life. I'm like, I didn't want to end I didn't want to like stop doing what I wanted to do. But at the end of the day, I was like, my dad's sick. I got to stop all this and take care of him. But yeah, that really was like set a fire under my ass, and was like, let's go, lock in and go become a firefighter.
And you passed and you obviously got your fire science degree.
I got my fire science degree. I ended up getting my fire science degree. After all that, I mean, I went back months and months later. My teachers were awesome through all that. I learned, so much from that. And I went and finished EMT school, got my EMT. And then eventually I went on to, you know, paramedic was a whole different beast, but,
Yeah.
I, you know, did that and I, became a paramedic, and my girlfriend was nothing but helpful through that. I feel like families like go through it as well. When
Yeah.
you're going through medic school, you're going through all this stuff. Like my family, my girlfriend was so supportive, like giving me flashcards and teaching me what to do. Cause I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like this is, I can't do it. But doing it for my father, doing it for my family, doing it for my girlfriend, doing it for everyone, doing it for myself was just like the
Yeah.
biggest thing. But that was it changed my life, and it obviously, it hurt so much. But I know my dad's like, oh, this is what I'm so proud of him, and this is what he would want to do. And it sounds cliche, but it's just one of those things where it's one of those things you just gotta like, no matter how bad life is, you just gotta follow through with it.
That's life experience, dude. Like
Absolutely.
you learned a lot in that year
Yep.
of hardship and struggles, but
Yep.
determination
Absolutely.
and getting on with it and making something more of yourself, to have your father's memory and knowing that he's gonna be proud of you as you carry on and not using it as a crutch,
Yes.
and not let life beat you down and blame your failures because your father passed away. And I mean, and I'm
Yep.
not shortchanging that. Like that's some hard shit, man.
Yeah.
And
No, absolutely.
I've never had to go through that, and I can't even imagine. But the fact that you came out a better person on the other side, and that just shows the determination and dedication you have for your family, and to succeed. So that means that you're going to just keep on
Keep on
thriving.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, man, you're going to make something really good of yourself, and that's really
Yeah.
cool. Plus, honestly, and too, and life experience carries a lot of weight.
Yep.
Not everybody experiences that, and I don't want anybody to really have to go through some of those things that we
Yes.
do. But when you progress into the fire service and you have to console somebody, and it's on their worst day, and somebody passes away,
Yeah.
you're going to have that deep connection with them,
Yes.
because there's going to be a moment where somebody's literally going through probably the same thing that you experienced,
Absolutely.
and you're going to say, I know how you feel, and you're not shitting them.
Yep.
It's going to be
Exactly.
real, right? It's going to be
Yeah.
heartfelt. You're like, no, I know how you feel because I've been
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And obviously it's between you, that person, and God to say, I want to tell you my story at this particular time to that person who needs it the most.
Yeah.
But when you do, that's going to be everything to them, and they'll never forget it
Absolutely.
when you share that life experience that you had. And that's something pretty special that not everyone can do.
Yes.
So that's how we use our life experiences to help others. Is we can't forget all the struggles, we can't forget all the bad times, but we can use them to lift others up. It doesn't always have to
Absolutely.
be negative, right? So like,
Yep.
my past experiences of child abuse and toxic work environments and all that, like I could use as a crutch. I could blame society. You know, I could blame anybody I
Absolutely.
want to blame,
Blame
right? But
anybody. Yep.
you can come out a better person, if you don't use it as a crutch all the time. So I love it, dude. I love that you've
Absolutely,
made
man.
that decision to thrive
Yeah.
and honoring your dad's memory of becoming a better person. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to make light of it, and I'm not joking. I'm not trying to make light of your father's passing, but I just thought of it. Is your dad's name Ted?
No.
Oh, okay,
Ted.
that's too
Is,
bad.
is this another Ted Lasso joke?
It is a Ted.
That
That
wouldn't
would have
be
been
the
pretty
first one.
cool.
It wouldn't be the first one I got. First one I got, but
I
it's
know.
actually funny.
I wanted to start it off. I was like, maybe I won't.
No, you should have. I love that stuff. It's funny because we did a we did like they call it the B-Fit challenge. It's at the Boston Garden in Boston TD Garden, and you run for first responders, and one of the ladies came up to me and she was like, "Hey, I got a picture of you. What's your name?" And I said, "Oh, it's Joe Lasko." And she goes, I spelt it out for her. I broke it down for her pretty slowly. Next thing you know, in the newspaper the next day, in front of the Patriot Ledger was Joe Lasso,
That's funny.
Lasso, and I go, "Oh, come on! I knew that was gonna freaking happen." Like,
They couldn't
but
resist.
no, absolutely not. But yeah,
So
man,
you That's awesome, dude. So you used that, you overcame that, you got your fire science degree.
Yep.
Was there a particular fire department that you wanted to get onto? Was Boston one of those goals, or was it any department, or did you have Whitman in your eyesight?
Like I said, I feel like everyone wants to get to the big cities. Everyone wants to get on Boston Fire or whatever. But a lot where we are is all it's like civil service based. So you take a test and there's different towns. Whitman was always it was always in my mind because that my hometown was one that was always on the civil service list. But I ended up going to fire science with the fire science school with a kid that was on Whitman. And he would always talk about it. And I ended up taking the civil service test, and I got cards from a couple of different people. But Whitman was just like one of those places that I went and interviewed there, and like you could just tell like the atmosphere. Like I did a lot of interviews going into that, and there was different departments around me. Not knocking any departments around me, but it was just like you didn't get that vibe when you went in there. Like it was just kind of like I don't know if this is the place I wanted to work. But when I went to Whitman, it was like I was like, these guys are awesome. Like I said, it's a smaller department, but I mean, we're busy, and we have all those other towns around us. But it was just one of those departments that I went into, and I was like, wow, like everyone's cool, like everyone's wants to help you. It opened my arms to they opened their arms to me and helped me out. And so I ended up landing in Whitman, and been on for 3 years now. So it's just one of those
That's
places
awesome.
where I'm going to continue to work there, and it's awesome. All the guys are
That's
great
very
there, and
cool.
yeah, it's a great department. I can't
So
complain one
how
bit.
far out is Whitman? Like is you said Brockton's one of the bordering communities.
Yep.
What other, for people who don't know where that is, like how
Yeah.
close are you to the bigger inner cities?
So it's probably I'd say 30 minutes south of Boston.
Okay.
Kind of inner south area. So we have Brockton right next to us. Brockton is a bigger city that a lot of people know about. Abington, Hanson, East Bridgewater. Those are like towns that are around us, but the closer you get to the city, like a Weymouth or a Quincy, they're not too far up the road from us.
Okay.
But it's kind of nice being where we are because we're in the middle of all of it. So any other town around us has a fire, we're going. So
That's
it's
awesome.
great. So we rely a lot on mutual aid around where we are.
How many stations are you?
One. We're at a one
Oh, okay.
station. It's awesome. Old school station. All sleep in the same room. Old school quarters.
Wow.
Yeah, it's it's a great department.
That's
Um,
cool.
I like it. I like the community. Home of the Toll House cookie. Chocolate chip
Oh,
Toll
all
House
right.
chocolate
I
chip
did not know
cookies.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, Whitman,
That's
home of the
very
chocolate
cool.
chip cookie. So
So are you guys pretty busy? Do you do ambulance as well? Because you have your medic. So do
yep.
you run EMS as well?
Yeah, so we cross staff.
Okay.
Cross staff are as paramedics, we do run our own ambulance. I'd say a lot of our calls are medical calls, but we our community is a lot of old like balloon frame triple deckers. Um, so we do get some good fires. But we cross staff the ladder in the ambulance,
Okay.
which is nice because you kind of get every different aspect. You get the ladder, you get to be on the engine one day, you get to be on the ambulance. No one wants to be on the ambulance, but I don't mind it. Yeah, so we have a good cross staff system. Um, you know, the town relies heavily on it. There is some private ambulance around us, and I know you're on in Derry, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So that you guys are pretty similar as far as cross staff,
Yeah, so
the
we have
ambulance.
four stations. One ambulance is out of our central station that's fully
Yep.
staffed, and then our three other stations are cross-staffed. We have two aerial units, and then we have
Cool.
one engine and an outlying station. So all those other departments, or I should say, all those other stations are cross-staffed. So same thing. We're riding the ambulance, and you don't. If you don't like it, you don't join that department. It's pretty much easy,
That's
right?
it.
Like,
Yep.
for anybody shopping around for departments, if you don't like EMS, then don't join a department that does EMS. I guess that's the biggest thing, right? But I don't mind
Absolutely.
EMS, just like you. I don't mind it.
I love it. Yeah.
It's the nature of the beast. It's what we got to do. We signed up to help people. I remember many years ago when I was on my call department when I first started, and
Yeah.
I remember we were starting to do a little more med calls, and the call volume for our call guys was not was increasing because of needing to help med, right?
Yeah.
And some of the guys weren't showing up, and they flat out said, "I signed up to be a firefighter, not an EMT." And I always thought that was really interesting, is because my reply back to them was, "Well, didn't we just sign up to help people? Like, whether you're an EMT or a firefighter, like it's kind of the
All the
same.
same.
We signed up to help people. We
Yep.
took an oath and we swore that we're going to be there for people. And
Yeah.
so you really don't get to pick and choose. I guess if you're a volunteer call, that you can kind of pick and choose what calls you want to go to, but at the same time, like, you did take an oath and you signed up to help others in your
Yep.
community. So whether you're helping out in the EMS side of it, or you get to ride on a fire truck to a fire, you still got to help. So,
Absolutely.
I think it's gotten less with that, because it's what pays the bills. Honestly,
Yeah.
medical calls is what we go to and what we need to do. So we have to be good at it. We have to be professional at it. So
That's a great point, though. Like, if you don't want to do EMS, don't go to that department. I mean, it's simple as that. And unfortunately, you see it way too often.
they do.
These kids get through the academy and they're just like, oh, I got through the academy. I don't have to ride the ambulance, right? Well, it's like, we got to cross staff everything. It's like you said, we're here to serve the community no matter what we're doing, whether it's a crash or an EMS call. So it's just
in your time.
Yeah.
So you've been on for 3 years.
Yep.
What other kind of trainings have you gone to? So you went to the Northeastern Fire Summit. Have you gone to any other conferences outside of Massachusetts besides the main one?
I have not. Other than the New England Fools, luckily through Massachusetts, we do have the Mass Fire Academy. They do a lot of free training. They offer classes every week, and that's how I got on the technical rescue team, and that was kind of something that I always wanted to do as well, scuba and trench rescue and rope ops and stuff.
Tell
like
me about that.
Yeah, so I'm on the Plymouth County Tech team. So it's all the South Shore towns is combined of a technical rescue team. All the South Shore towns is probably about 80 of us on the team. So anything from rope operations to high angle rescues to trench operations to scuba, to search and rescue on scuba. That team is combined of a bunch of firefighters from around the area. If there ever is a tech rescue activation. Now we're getting more into all the USAR stuff. They're activating us up to Vermont and stuff for the flooding or whatever it is. So it's really expanding. But yeah, any type of major event in our area, that a town that doesn't have like a heavy rescue or a special operations, we're responding. So I could be at the station one day and we can have a dive activation, or we could have a high angle rescue. We have those big windmills around now. People get stuck up in those. We just actually had a month or so ago was a gentleman got stuck up doing cutting down trees, but the saw came down and hit him in the arm, and he was stuck up there. That's something we couldn't get an aerial back there, couldn't get a ladder. So that's something that our team does is rope operations, but it's any type of technical or special operations call in our area. We get activated and go to that area. There's different trailers, different structural collapse trailers or dive trucks in the region that goes to that call.
Now, where did you learn all that?
So I did it through a lot of it was through the Mass Fire Academy. They offer a lot of these technical rescue classes. So I took a lot of the modular classes that they had. You can do a week of certain things, structural collapse, confined space. It's tough with, the job, It's tough to get time off to do that for a week. But I did just as many modular classes as I could, or as many classes that I possibly could, breaking and breaching and hoisting and lifting. And growing up in a beach community, I ended up getting my open water scuba diver.
Nice.
Working my way up towards that, trying to become, advanced and master diver, all that stuff. That's something that really interests me. But mainly through the Mass Fire Academy is they offer these classes, and the best thing is they're free.
That's fantastic.
So you can take these classes and work your way up, and you apply for the team, and they interview you the same way as you would get hired as a fire department. They interview you. They want you to be about 3 years more of experience. You have to have certain certifications to get on the team.
Now, what interested you in it? Like, why did you said like that was like kind of one of your big goals is
Yeah,
the tech rescue. How did you get a passion for that?
I just feel like right when I got into the fire service and doing that fire science degree, there were so many different classes. We actually had like a tech class. We actually had like different operational classes, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like it's awesome in a job like us because we can just expand to whatever we want, really whatever we want to do. If you want to expand in EMS, go be an EMS officer. You want to expand in, structural collapse, go do classes. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I just kind of, I really found an interest in, a lot of people don't like going to the small spaces, but I do.
Hmm. Yeah.
um, yeah. So I took these classes and I just found so much interest in them. I thought it was cool, like being a technical aspect of the job. It's not an easy part of the job. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to do something that was going to challenge me. So that's why I kind of took all these different classes and just kind of worked my way up. And luckily, a lot of different guys on my department and other surrounding communities like helped me on what classes I had to take, how I had to do it, how I had to get on the team, what I had to do, stuff like that. But I just found so much interest in the scuba. Scuba is the main thing. I just grew up in the ocean, love the water.
Yeah.
Scuba Steve. But yeah, I love that stuff. But I also love the structural part of it too, the rope operations and the
Hmm.
structural collapse. And it's funny because a lot of people on the teams, or I feel like a lot of teams, it's either you have a specialty in one certain thing, whether you're just a diver or you're well not just a diver, it's important, but a diver, or you're a rope guy, or they consider it a rope nerd. Or just you're a trench guy and or get in that small space because you like it and I don't, kind of thing. But I like all the different, aspects of the technical stuff. And it's good, for my town because I'm the only one that's on the team. So I'm able to, bring some stuff back and, stories and different things. So different parts of the job, different learnings. We try to train pretty much every month for that team. So sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a month. So
Oh,
it's stuff that I can bring back to my town, so it benefits us in the long run.
how long you been on that team for?
I just got on. This was like within the last couple, I'd say 5 or 6 months I got on. So this is newer to me. I took the classes and I took things that I needed to get on, but for as far as being on the team, it's been pretty recent. So it's been good. It's been I'm excited to learn more things, and like I said, having the training each month is awesome. Being able to do that, and it's just like us at the fire station. Like you should be getting out there and touching the tools, and you
Yeah.
should be touching the hose and doing all these things. So it kind of helps me get out into the community again. We were talking about that earlier. Being able to get out and learn different aspects of the job and meet different people, and
And
so
no
it's been good.
deployments yet though on that team, right? You haven't been deployed yet.
No, we haven't. We've had a couple activations, like that tree thing. No, as far as a lot of the um, USAR stuff, it's mainly more FEMA, like the
Hmm.
FEMA teams. But there's talks about how with the wildfires coming, being expanding more, and the flash flooding and all that stuff. Natural disaster stuff. They're going to start activating us to different states to help out.
Yeah.
But no, no major incidents. The big thing is us is horse rescues. So if a horse goes down in the mud, we're going on there and we're
Do you
picking them
have
up.
a do you have a lot of agriculture in your
Yes,
area or
yeah. There's a lot of
yeah?
farmland, a lot of animals like farm animals. Um, there's a guy in my department that has a big farm himself. It's like this our area is full of old agricultural
Okay.
like farmland. So that's a
And
big.
so that area
Yep.
now, do you because it's more farmland and it are you for your say your water districts, are you mainly hydrants or are you also dealing with water cisterns and dry hydrants and or do you have a strictly hydrants?
We're all hydrants.
Oh, nice.
Luckily,
Okay.
where we are, luckily in our community, we have a very good water, water department. We have good flow of water, so we have hydrants in every part of our town. Um, Mainly, a lot of the people around us. There's some towns around us, like a town next to us, Hanson. There's some parts of that town. that don't have hydrants. Um, you get closer down to like maybe like Cape Cod. They rely heavily on like tankers and stuff,
Yeah,
but a lot where we are, it's all hydrant based. So that's good. Us
that's good. Yeah.
Brockton, that's huge. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
very
that's very
helpful.
big.
Yeah, the drafting and stuff. That's where I like, that's one thing I don't really find interest in. But
Yeah, that's an art form right there, man.
yeah,
I got to teach up in Vermont, and we did engine operations or pump operations, and
yeah,
at the Twin Mountain Fire Association, and it was awesome. Like
yeah, that's cool.
it's really great to be able to get your hands on that. And if anyone's never actually had to do drafting or those kind of pump operations, it's always a good thing to practice. That is granted if you actually have that equipment on your apparatus, the hard suctions
Absolutely.
and things like that. But and it was great to be able to get those reps in again. And our department does pretty well with making sure that we are
Yeah.
fully trained and proficient in that, because man, there's nothing more embarrassing when you're trying to get water
Nope.
and you have
You
to,
can't.
you can't, and you have to make sure you're proficient at drafting, because it's pretty much an art form. And if
Yeah,
you can't
it's
do
tough.
it, people are going to say, yeah, it's very tough if you don't know what you're doing. So, yeah, it's a different world, not knowing how to do it. When you're mainly all hydrants, you're definitely fortunate that you don't have to deal
Yeah,
with some of
no,
those
it
issues for
is.
sure.
And it's funny, like where we are, there's different towns around us that, like I was saying, like the town next to us and other towns don't have hydrants. It's like it's kind of weird how it's formed.
Yeah.
Um, there's like I said, closer to the Cape, there's towns that have not even one hydrant in town.
Yeah.
Not even 100. They rely, like I said, on tankers or drafting and a lot of those things. We do have a lot. I mean, up near you, obviously, there's a lot of woods, but we do have a lot of woods down near here too. I mean,
Hmm.
like the wildfires and all that stuff are just expanding so much, and I feel like it's been down in New England. It's been windy like every single day.
Yeah.
For all these like class 4 and class 5 days, it's like some woods is gonna catch on fire today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the red flag danger days, those are always a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
fun.
yep,
Yeah. So now, what do you do at your department? Since you're a one station department,
yep.
how big are you guys? Like, what is it like, for your training events or training to make sure that everybody's up to speed, and what kind of atmosphere or morale do you guys have going on there?
Yeah, so we do train a lot. We have a good training officer who, he's always getting us out there doing something, whether it's aerial training and learning on the ladders or throwing up ladders in the back of the building or, pumping. Every year we pump, we obviously test our hose, obviously. But we also just do, pump training pretty much, I'd like to say weekly. We're always
Mm,
getting out there hooking up to a hydrant and doing something. A lot of it helps too. Right now, we have a high school intern, which is cool. So that he comes
that's
and he
awesome.
he kind of hangs out with us, and we show him different aspects of the job.
Is he
Um,
living with you guys? Is it like a living program?
no, I wish it was. That would be cool. So he just comes during the week, Monday through Friday, kind of thing. So instead of going to his school, he'll come to the station, which
Gotcha.
it's awesome for him. Um, Yeah, so we do train a lot, and it's awesome too. Like that, we are a little bit of a smaller department that we're able to all know each other and we're able to train together. Um, so I'd like to say like I'd say weekly we're doing something, and we know our trucks very well. I mean, being out of one station, there's always something that you can be touching, and always one engine that you can be
Yeah.
learning something new on. So yeah, we do train a decent amount, which is good because there is, you see too many departments that just aren't training enough. They're not getting out there and they're not doing what they should be doing for the job. And it's sad because there's guys on those departments that do want to train,
Hmm.
but they're just not able to get out there.
Yeah.
But we're starting to have a younger department now too. So a lot of these guys are, they want to learn and they want to train, which is huge. But there's still guys on my department that are they're older and they know a lot of things, and you can ask them, you can pick their brain about anything, and they'll be able to tell you.
Yeah.
And there's still guys that are out there, older guys that are they'll be able to pump a fire 10 times better than a kid that just got out of the academy, that was doing hydraulics every day. But yeah, we do a lot of training. Um, we're doing truck checks obviously every day, and just the meat and potatoes of it. But there's
Hmm.
there's there's guys that really want to learn at our department, so that's that's very helpful.
So do you have a mentor or a senior man that you've learned a lot from?
Yeah, there's a couple of them at my department. There's definitely a couple of guys at my department that I've looked up to as a new kid, learning different, learning their ways and learning how they do things is awesome. Because as a new firefighter, it's scary. You come into this department, and there's a bunch of guys and girls looking at you, and it's like, all right, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
I feel like the new generation now too is a little tougher. These kids aren't learning as much, and they're not,
These kids, listen to you. These
I know
kids.
I'm a kid too, but like younger, kids, but they don't
But
really
now it's
know.
your job,
Yeah, no, it's
right?
my job to teach those kids. They don't really know that. They don't follow the chain of command or whatever, like stuff like that. It's just like, come
Yeah.
on, like, they don't
It's
want
an
to clean.
amazing thing, dude. It's an amazing thing when you like. I turned around and all of a sudden I'm the oldest one on my shift, and
Oh,
it's a scary thing, and
absolutely.
um, you can still be that positive role model. You don't
You
have
gotta
to
be.
have right, and you don't have to have 20 years on the job to be that person to spark that good passion and those good
Yep,
habits, and
you have to.
to make sure, yeah, and it's really important to, like you said, that the new generation. Well, we were the new generation. I mean,
Yeah,
like it's like
absolutely.
right, and you've been on a job for 3 years. You're 30 years old now.
Yep,
30, right? So it's crazy, right? Like now you're saying, hey, the new generation, they
I know.
don't get it, or they're having some problems. Now it's your issue. Now it's your job to make sure they don't have those problems,
Absolutely.
and you
Yep.
have to
Teach
educate
them.
them. Exactly. You got to educate them on what they need to do, what your expectations are. Those expectations were given to you by your mentor or senior guy, and it was them instilling it onto you to carry on that tradition of, hey, this is what we want our department to be. This is
Yep.
what I expect from you, and I want you to continue on those expectations to the new generation. And when you turn around, it's going to be, you're the oldest guy on shift, and now the people that that generation you're
Yep.
just talking about, they're going to be complaining about the next generation. It just right,
It's
it'll
just a
just keep
generational
happening.
thing.
It's right, and it'll just
Yeah.
keep on going and keep on going. But that's what the fire department has, such great traditions and legacies. And as we always complain, like, there's things that firefighters hate, right? Change in the way things are. But we
Absolutely.
still do have to change with our newer staff that comes in. And I think it's as we're always learning and changing with the times, just like every fire,
You have to.
every
You're
electric
always changing.
vehicle, every technology that comes in. It's the same way with dealing with our staff. And, if we don't change with that, if we don't learn new ways to be able to open up to the generation that comes after us,
Yep.
we're going to be stuck. And, our doors will still remain open, but we're going to be pretty light in staff because we can't
I
get anybody to
agree.
come in because we refuse to change with
Change
those
them.
times. Yeah.
Yep.
So we got to learn how to talk to people, and
Yep.
that's where you come in. You're the you're the generation after me, and
Absolutely.
you're doing great things with it. And we just can't stop talking, because there's definitely people out there still that just say, I can't teach them. They're glued to their phone,
Yeah.
or they're not getting it, and they throw their hands up and say,
Mhm.
well, you do it instead, because I'm not getting anywhere. And that's tough, because you can't blame them entirely, right? Especially the guys that, the guys who are approaching 55 years old, 60
Yeah.
years old, and they spent 30 years on. Sometimes they don't have that bandwidth to try to plug in to the 20-year-old. It's just not, it's very
Yeah, the
difficult to
connection just
do.
isn't there. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
right. So it's helpful. Like for me, I got two 15-year-old daughters, so I
Yep.
get to have that practice.
That
As
helps. It does
it
help.
helps a
Yep.
lot, right?
Absolutely.
But what I've learned is the open communication, and you get down and dirty with your new guys. When they want to learn something and they
Yep.
ask you, "Hey, can you show me this?" If you just go, "Oh, I just sat down. I don't want to go back out to the bay," and don't you notice already? Didn't they
Yeah.
teach you this at the
Right.
academy? Because I used to hear that a lot when I was coming up. Like, did they already
Yeah.
teach you this at the academy? What are they teaching you up there? And I was like,
Yep.
well, I want to learn from you, because
Yeah.
you're the guy. So
Yep.
teach me.
You're on my
And
department. You teach me.
yeah, right. So it's I love that you got to carry on that education, the tradition of helping others,
Absolutely.
and
Always.
open up their minds.
Always there to help.
Dude, I love learning from new people. That's probably one of the
Yep.
best. That's why I always say, when I'm teaching the academy, or I got new guys coming in, I always want them to teach me, because they have there's a new way to do it. They've learned something new. They got the new
Yep.
energy, and I always learn something new from people. Like or even just like, there was literally, I was just doing a simple class up at the academy. It was not even a instruction. It was just them doing physical stuff. But
Yeah.
one of the departments, they're a very small department, volunteer, and they have the best of what they can do with the equipment they have.
Yeah.
And it was this old pack that I've never seen in my lifetime. I learned something new from them. Like, holy crap, I've never seen this air pack before.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Show it to me. I want to know about it. And I learned something within that hour. That was great.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, is keeping your minds and ears open.
Teaching, I feel like when you teach, you learn more. Like like you said, like when you're teaching someone or you're teaching a younger kid, I feel like I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually kind of forgot about that. Now I'm glad I'm teaching you on how to do it, because now we both are getting taught.
Or they ask a really good question. Yep. That's the toughest part too, is that as you're trying to instruct or just teaching the new person that came in your department and they ask you a question and you honestly don't know the answer, you can't bullshit them. You can't really give them a bullshit answer, because it'll come out in the wash, right? You could be like, I'll get back to you on that. Or, we'll look it up together. Let's go find out.
That's a good one.
Right?
That's a good one.
It's going to happen. Trust me, it'll happen. There'll be somebody who's going to come in and ask you, why do we do it this way? Or why is it like this? And you're not going to know the answer to it. So it's when you can say,
learning experience for both of us.
Yeah, man. Yep. And just go and find that answer together. You look through the records of your department, or, you go online and Google the history of something and like, hey, we just found out this answer together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. So, in your time in your department, what are some good things that you've learned from your mentors or senior guys?
Be a better cook. Just kind of just like, be a hard worker. Just keep your eyes and ears open, just keep working hard. Be like you said, be that guy that people want to come to work and be like, and teach and do things that, kids are going to look up to you. And, cause I look up to these senior firefighters, and I want people to be able to look up to me. But just, there's different things like, certain, like this guy, an older guy dragged a hose differently than I would have, little stuff like that. Like, oh, pull a guy aside. Hey, Andy, why'd you do that? And they'll always be there to help you and teach you things. And it's just, I feel like just watching them and shadowing them, and like, even just hanging out at the station. What are they doing? What are guys up to? Just asking them, like, why'd you do this? Or why'd you do that? Why'd you pump a fire that way? Or why'd you throw a ladder that way? Or, why'd you put the stick to the roof over there and not over here? Kind of things like that. But we do have those older guys at our job that are willing to really teach us, which is awesome. It's very beneficial, because you hear about too many departments where they're not doing that. The old grumpy guy doesn't want to help you anymore. Everyone gets grumpy, but
you get those officers that they're so overwhelmed with their paperwork and reports that they have to do that they're in the office and you don't see them for the bulk of the shift, and it's not really their fault. Like they are overwhelmed. They are swamped with, the reports they have to catch up on, or reviews they have to write, or whatever other tasks have been thrown on top of them. And they want to be out in that bay. They want to do stuff with their guys, but they can't. So they rely upon us to make sure that we're teaching our men and women, the department's standards and training and being on top of it. But you do get some really good officers too, that they do try to break away and have that time.
Oh yeah.
And since the department I've joined, I've been really blessed and really fortunate to have really good officers that take the time to want to teach us. My last shift, my lieutenant, man, he's lived in the community for forever. I mean, he was, his father was on the police department for 50 plus years. He was the police chief, and then so this guy, he's been in the community for forever. He is the community for the most part, right?
Guy on the community.
Super knowledgeable. He knows everything about that town, which is so helpful. And he street familiarization, the town history. Man, we had a lot of rain come through, and he taught me something I didn't know about. Like, I know there's drains on our highway, right? And we got called out for a water problem. The police were going to shut down part of this highway, or this really wasn't highway, but bypass. Yeah. And they were going to shut it down because there was so much water building up. The drain was clogged and the police couldn't find that drain. And we come right up and he goes, yeah, that drain's probably clogged. And that's where that old school mentality comes in of knowing your job and knowing how everything is and having those answers. And he says, yeah, the drain's right there. And we're like, well, how did you know the drain's there? He's like, see that line, that yellow hash mark that's on the Jersey barrier? That's where the drain's at. So just go ahead and take your pike pole and push it down. It will drain. And sure as shit, man,
Simple thing like that.
we didn't have to go find it, right? We didn't have to walk through this feet of water, and we didn't have to go get our clothes all wet.
Yep.
We just walked on top of the Jersey barrier, and there we were, put the pike pole down, boom. It was easy peasy, right? But
awesome.
He gave that education to us. I know there's a drain there, but I would have had to go plugging around trying to find it, right? And he's like, yeah, you don't have to, right? You don't have to hunt around to find it. There it is. I learned something incredibly new. It was really, really cool, and he didn't make you feel like an asshole because he didn't know that. He knew the answer, but he wanted to give it to us, and he didn't like. It wasn't a game of Clue, like who done it and try to go
Come
find
on, let's
it.
see who can figure this out first.
Yeah. So it's cool getting that knowledge that people love to give to others. So those are takeaways that I'll remember for the rest of my career. Like, oh, I know where the drain is. Because then some new kid who's going to be 18-year-old, fresh from the department, I'm going to say, yeah, the drain's right there at that yellow hash mark. And he's going to say, how do you know that? I'm going to say, because my lieutenant he told me that 10 years ago, and I'm telling you.
Yeah, so my officer on my group he's awesome. My lieutenant is great, and a perfect example is we're going out to these buildings. We're going out to these, like, he's a firm believer of, like, we got to get out into the community and see these different buildings, because we do have a couple high-rise buildings in town. We do have a couple different ordinary construction buildings that he's like, we got to get out and look at these, or whether it's just a fire drill, going to the elementary schools or going up to the high school and doing a fire drill. He's always that guy that will walk us around and say, hey, this is where the fire alarm panel is, or this is where the standpipe system is, or stuff that there's guys that have been on for 30 years that have no idea where it is. Me being younger and being on for 3 years, it's like, all right, well, now I know where that is, and now I can step up and show different people, Exactly. But that's a big thing, is like getting out, like you said, getting out to the community and doing different things and seeing different ordinary, constructions and different type of construction there is, or different type of buildings there are, different streets. This is a one-way street. You can't come down with a ladder, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's little things that is going to help you with time and benefit you in the long run when something,
absolutely,
when it's important,
We're pretty blessed too in New England that we got so many different arrays of building. It's really important to know our building construction of, like you said, you mentioned blue frames and triple deckers, and those are the buildings we really have to look out for. But with newer construction, sometimes it's hard to find if it's a true balloon frame or if it's a new build, right? So we get educated on what to look for those balloon frames and understand how to identify them, how to work around them. And we're very blessed to work in such an eclectic environment of different homes, different constructions. Ranch to 3-story homes. Like this, it's a huge, big difference, and it literally can be on the same block. And again, it's not the same construction. It's construction from 100 years ago, and it could be construction from 5 years ago. So all on the same street. So
and there's always new buildings going up everywhere now too.
Yeah, everywhere. And you got to be on top of it, and you got to stay fluid, and you got to make sure you're educated. I love it. So Joe Lasko, what else you got going on as we're winding down?
Not much, man. Got the day off. We're actually having a nice fire department dinner tonight, which will be good. So
is this a fire department dinner? Is this like an award thing, or is this
this is like our Christmas party?
Okay.
I feel like every time we try to have a Christmas party, it's hard. I mean, people have to work, So yeah, tonight's the night we'll go out and kind of celebrate, I guess, Christmas, but we'll go hang out with some of the guys. And
where's dinner?
It's called a place called Luca in Rockland. Nice fancy place. I think it's Italian / steakhouse /
it definitely sounds Italian. Yeah,
a little bit.
Get a nice spaghetti dinner, huh?
Oh, I definitely will.
That was my Italian accent, everybody.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a lot of good food in our area, which is a big thing for me. I love food, if you can't tell. But
well, I hope you enjoy your dinner. I really appreciate you being on the show, my man. Absolutely. I definitely want to give some shout outs to Rusty Ricker, the New England Fools. For events that we go to, the majority of us in New England, it's because of him and the New England Fools. And I would have never met Joe if I didn't go to Northeastern Fire Summit. I wouldn't have met half the people that I have on the show sometimes because of events like the Fools events. So if you're not a Fool member, please do so. You can go online, social media, anywhere in the U.S., Canada as well. Hawaii's got Fools. So everything. So look them up. The Fools International. You can find out where a chapter is, and if you don't have a chapter and you need one, reach out to Fools International, and they'll help you out and guide you to how to form your own chapter. it does pay dividends to have a chapter, to be able to have that brotherhood and sisterhood. And it's not just training either. It's building that whole networking system so you can get answers that you can't usually find, or just needing help from brothers and sisters. It's pretty much like a hotline.
Yeah.
So you can make sure that you can have these brothers and sisters that are nearby to help you out. So please do so. Check it out. Thank you so much all for listening to the C.A.N Report. Thank you, Joe, for being on. I really appreciate
Thank you
man.
for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I also will always like to wind it down with a shout out to Next Rung. My brothers and sisters at Next Rung are doing great things for mental health. Blake Stennett and his team, Charlie Brown. If you're having issues, if you need to talk to somebody, reach out to Next Rung. They are doing great things for all of us. They're helping people find a way to talk to others. The funds that they raise go to help people get help. So if people don't have insurance or they need to make appointments, Next Rung will help you to get that help you need. Right now, we do have a pillar in our fire service community that's seeking help on his own. Kurt Isaacson, County Fire Tactics. He's on in Scambia. He's dealing with his own personal struggles. He's made it very open and honest for all of us to understand his struggles that he's got going on. It takes a lot of guts to be able to open up to everybody in the social media world to let us know that he's struggling as well, but he's seeking help with his struggles. And I think that's really cool to be able to mentor us, even though we don't have to be right in front of his face. He's promoting mental health through his own personal struggles and seeking help with that. So if you are struggling, please reach out. If you need directions, I will help you. If you need to get a hold of Next Rung, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're all over social media. They do have a website. They will get you the help that you need or trying to get, and they'll work with you. Thank you, everybody, for plugging in, listening, watching. I love you all. You guys are doing great work. Joe Lasko, Whitman Fire.
Appreciate it, man.
You're doing great things, my man. I'm so happy we got to talk and meet up.
Too.
I'll do my best, brother. I'm trying. So thank you all. We do have actually fire conferences coming up in Monadnock region on the 24th and the 25th. Dennis Riley is going to be one of our guest speakers on May 23rd, the Monadnock Fire Conference. So if you guys want to check that out, please do. I don't know if I'll get this out before that, but please do check it out. And also want to give a shout out to the fools that I met in Old South fools out of Mississippi. Those guys are awesome. There's going to be a fire conference. They are super cool guys. I really enjoyed meeting them. The Old South Fools, they have a fire conference coming up in October 9th through the 11th at Corinth, Mississippi. The proceeds go to St. Jude's. And I am blessed to be one of the presenters there and doing some instructing there. I am pumped. I've never been to Mississippi, so I'm excited to be there and see all those guys again. So please look that up. It is on right now. The registrations will be opening up for the Old South Fools in Corinth, Mississippi. They've got good things going on. So thank you all for tuning in, and also Nozzle Tov.